Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. I took the last half of the week off work, and during that time off, I did some filing because I had a stack of records that, well, needed filing. During the course of said filing, I came up against a couple of records that I consider to be sworn enemies of conventional filing. Uh, those records that are just hell bent on just disrupting your organizational scheme. Now, usually in this situation, it's because of oversized sleeves. If you have any amount of 7-inch records in your collection, pretty sure you've come up against an oversized sleeve. Now, having said that, I do have some 12-inch offenders as well. So I figured, I might as well show a few of those because, well, why not? As I said, the oversized sleeve, I have probably the oversiziest of oversized sleeves right here. That being the self-titled 7-inch by the Perks from 1978. Showed this before, won't dwell on it too long. One of the earliest local, if not the earliest local punk records for me. Melodic, very tuneful, kind of early punk. Not quite into the realm of power pop, just melodic, kind of rock and roll punk. One of these guys was the brother of Rob Brent from the Demics. So they had that star association, at least during this time and in this area. But yeah, it's a manila envelope, cut in half, silk screened with the adapters on it. 7-inch sits inside it with the insert, but it's big. You aren't fitting that comfortably with the rest of your 7 inches. So yeah, the Perks. Then we have one here that's it's also oversized, but it's just slightly oversized, just enough to make it a bit of a pain in the ass to file it with other records. And that would be the Jolly Tambourine Man double B-side 7-inch. It's from 1984 on Assembly Language. Weird band from Toronto. They started out as a punk band called Blibber and the Rat Crushers, and then became Jolly Tambourine Man and changed their style quite a bit. There's a heavy industrial element to this. There's also a really dark kind of arty, gothy kind of feel to it. Very, very strange. The A-side's called the Apple Strudel Man. There was actually a video made for it, and it played on Much Music a lot more frequently than you would think. Super weird video. I'll link it in the description. If you haven't watched it, check it out because it's totally strange. The B-side's called Sweater in Sri Lanka. Not quite as cool as the Apple Strudel Man, but still pretty cool. But yeah, this sleeve, slightly oversized, just enough to make it a bit of an inconvenience. So yeah, Jolly Tambourine Man. And then on the other side of the coin, you can have sleeves that are too small. Hell, you can have records that are too small, like this To The Point self-titled 3-inch on Behind the Mountain from 2014. It's a 3-inch record. It's tiny. If you don't know exactly where it is, you risk losing it. To the Point, kind of an all-star band as far as California power violence goes, I guess. You got people in here from Lack of Interest, Spaz, and a host of others. Very short. Well, obviously they're short. It's a 3-inch record, but even on their larger records, the songs are really short. Very punchy. Very fucking fast. And the singer sounds like a gorilla with Tourette's. It checks all the boxes. It's great, but you will lose this record if you don't keep tabs on it. And it's got Bill Murray on it. And he's housed behind this die-cut facade. And he's back with Jesus. So, yeah. But To The Point, that's a tiny goddamn record. Nah, too small. Now we'll go on to a bigger record. This came out on FOAD, who I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with, in 2014. This is the Crumbsuckers, Turn Back Time, the early years, 1983 to 1985. It's a double LP and a CD. Crumbsuckers, probably my favorite of the 80s crossover bands. They were from New York City, Long Island, I guess more specifically. this traces their roots when they were just their sound was more of just an early New York hardcore sound, like the Abused or Antidote or bands like that, and then they ramped up the metal and became the the crossover powerhouse that we're all familiar with today. There's a gatefold. You got words, pictures. You got a back cover. The problem with this one is that the CD case has been glued onto the sleeve of the record, so it doesn't sit flush with other LPs, and you risk warping the ones in front of it, and or maybe even worse, who knows. Great idea to put this record out because it's awesome and it's a great band. Poor idea to put the CD sleeve on the cover of the record. That isn't cool. Yeah, Crumbsuckers. Now we go on to split 7-inch. 2 bands from Windsor, Ontario that I hold near and dear to my heart. My old band used to play with both of these bands frequently. Recension more so. We did a ton of shows with this band. Great people in both bands. Recension, total power violence, crazier than normal time changes, just insane. Dual vocals, you got high-pitched vocals, you got the low-pitched vocals, just a great fucking band. The guy that does the higher-pitched vocals, Steve, eventually ended up doing vocals for us in Poison Spur. It's him on the demo that we released. And now, as far as I know, none of them even making music anymore, so that's kind of a shame. Searching for Chin were like a metalcore band, but not metalcore by today's definition. Like they don't sound like Protest the Hero or Atreyu or whatever the hell is considered metalcore. Whatever's considered metalcore today, Searching for Chin ain't it. They're closer to like early Catharsis, maybe early Converge. They're just really good. They're not as over the top. None of them look like Justin Bieber. Nobody has swooshy hair. No one had black nail polish. It was just bare bones, metallic fucking hardcore. And that's good shit. Now, the problem with this record that makes it kind of a filing inconvenience is this rivet. And it's because the cover is die cut, so you can rotate these skulls. But you try and put this in with other records, and that's just going to cause an indent or warp or rip the sleeve or whatever. The possibilities are endless. So yeah, Recension, Searching for Chin. It's a great record with a goddamn rivet in the middle. It's on Sounds of Revolution from 2001, by the way. Next up, a band that most of you are probably familiar with, you've at least heard of, from Toronto. It's Fucked Up. This is the David Christmas 7-inch from 2007. It's on Hidden World Records. And obviously the problem with it is it's done up like a Christmas gift. So this is not going to file properly with other 7-inches. I have a copy of this that I've opened, so I had no need to open this one up. Fucked Up, long-standing punk band from Toronto. Started out as more in the hardcore punk vein. Damien's got crazy, gruff, bellowed vocals. Musicianship, unparalleled. This is right when they were starting to kind of transition into, there was, kind of brought in a bit of a shoegaze influence to it, maybe a bit of a prog influence. And now they're doing double LPs with super long songs and, very sophisticated, intricate arrangements. Yeah, they're not really like they were when they started, but they're pretty successful, pretty well known. They're actually playing here next month or the month after, I think. But yeah, Fucked Up, David Christmas. It's got a knot in that ribbon. Next up, another split 7-inch. It's on No Front Teeth Records from 2016. It's Miscalculations and Neon Knives. Miscalculations are an awesome synth punk band from London over in the UK. Very, very catchy. I've got a few of their records. They're consistently good. I'm pretty sure the guy that does No Front Teeth Records is actually in Miscalculations. I know he watches the channel once in a while, So hello again. I have showed this record once before. Neon Knives are from Greenville, South Carolina. Also, they're pretty weird by their own, in their own right. They're I find that there's a pretty prevalent like 1980s Southern California punk thing going on here, but there's also like a garagey aspect to it. Um, Maybe if like the Amoebics, maybe if like the Adolescents were a lot more garagey than they were, and they recorded it underwater. Like the singer has this weird, like almost like an electrified shimmering effect to it. Pretty interesting. I'd like to hear more from them, but yeah, they basically sound like a garagey Adolescence if they recorded the whole thing underwater. Now, what makes this a bit of a filing nightmare? This is the Record Store Day 2016 limited edition. It's got a set of magooglies. Now, far be it for me to criticize googly eyes, because they always, just make the day better. These are some pretty tall googly eyes, so you are not filing this in with, any number of flat records. It's got to stay right at the front of the pack, which I guess is good for these bands to get that kind of recognition. So yeah, Miscalculations, Neon Knives. Next up, another 12-inch. It's a band from San Diego. It's from 2004. It's on a label called Life's a Rape. It's a band called Crime Desire. You can immediately pick out the issue here. There's dog tags that go right through the cover. Crime Desire, very fast hardcore band. Almost approaching like fastcore speeds, I suppose. Pretty heavy breakdowns, kind of almost like beatdown breakdowns. Like you could picture people just putting their feet through walls and shit like that. The singer sounds like he's running across a room full of thumbtacks with bare feet. He hits some pretty high notes. It makes it kind of more wild and I guess kind of untethered than a lot of bands that do this style. There's also a pretty heavy Youth Crew kind of feel to the guitar playing. But I've got a few of their other records, much like Miscalculations. All their records are consistently good. But none of their other records have a goddamn dog tag through the cover. So yeah, you ain't filing this with other records. Crime Desire. Now we got a compilation, an LP comp. It's called the You'll Hate This Record. It's on The Only Label in the World from 1983. I'd never seen this before. It was just hanging around in a local record shop, and I figured I'm gonna buy that. It looks interesting. Most of the bands on here are weird, like experimental bands, but there are some punk bands as well. You get G.G. Allen, like during the Jabbers period, by the sounds of it. Furry Couch, Art, The Fuck Ups, German Shepherds, Tina Peel, Psychodrama, and Shockabilly. Half decent comp. I'm not always in the mood for experimental stuff, but this would definitely scratch that itch should it arise. But what makes this problematic to filing is this, because it's rubber vomit, and it's glued on the cover, and it's kind of sticky, so it sticks to the poly bag. But yeah, it sticks out enough that you can't really comfortably file this beside other 12-inch records. So yeah, 3 cheers for rubber vomit, but yeah, makes it a bit of a pain in the ass. Next up, band from London, Ontario. Another band I'm very familiar with because we used to play with this band all the time. It's the self-titled, self-released 7-inch by The Proof. Great dudes. Most of the guys in this band played in another band called About to Snap that were like a really fast, straight edge, hardcore band. Maybe along the lines of something like 9/7A, like they were, faster than a lot of the bands doing this stuff. This is also like straight edge hardcore. It's a little slowed down from About to Snap, but it got some pretty solid breakdowns in it. They were just played with them a bunch of times, and they were always great. The thing with this is that the cover is glass. It's glass with a design on it, so you've got to be really careful. Um, this is number 13 out of 30 for this particular limited edition. But yeah, it's got glass on the cover, so you don't want to be filing that inappropriately, or you might stick your finger. So yeah, The Proof. Members of that band, I know Pedja. He's doing he's in a new band now that I can't even recall the name of. He was doing a band called Unit X. He was also doing a band called Hollow Man, but I can't for the life of me remember what he's doing now. Now, well, whatever. If he's watching this, he can correct me. And I don't know what the others are doing at all. Okay, next. Band from Chicago. Rose from the ashes of a band called Authority Abuse and a band called Kung Fu Rick, who were kind of contemporaries of Charles Bronson and Los Crudos and those bands. But this band's called He Who Corrupts. This is a 7-inch called The Smell of Money. It's on Mike Fitzgerald Records from 2005. Instantly, you can see the issue. It's got shredded U.S. currency in it. It says, Authentic U.S. Currency, Capitalist Pig Starter Kit. Great band. Kind of a grindcore band, but solidly in the hardcore end of the grindcore spectrum. Vocalist is crazy. He's got this weird, phlegmy, loud hiss. It's kind of like he drank too much fucking ginger ale on a really hot summer day, and he's just got that mouth coating. That's what he sounds like. Great band. Tight as fuck. Musically, it's kind of akin to being overcome by a swarm of wasps. It's just loud, cantankerous, but fucking solid. Yeah, He Who Corrupts. The Smell of Money. With shredded currency inside it and a nice green vinyl record. I'm not taking it out though because it causes a mess. Over to Denmark. It's a band that I may not pronounce properly, but if I recall correctly, they're called Taeve. Now, I'll take this out of here. This is a test pressing. My friend Brian released this record back in 2005. And I got this test pressing for it. But the test pressing comes with a set of Taeve white fronts, some tidy whiteys that come wrapped around the test pressing. So you definitely aren't filing that in with other 7-inches. Test pressing itself, it looks like any other test pressing. It's number 7 out of 10. Really good European, just hardcore punk band. Rooted in the 80s style. I kind of think this band might have actually started in the 80s. I could be wrong, but I think they might have. So I guess that's why they sound like an 80s hardcore band from Europe. Kind of like, maybe something like Regulations if they had, more gruff vocals. The record's called Homocore aus Dänemark, so they were a homocore band. I don't know if they're still going. I have a couple other records, but I want to say one of them might have went on to be in Cola Freaks. I could be wrong, though. Probably am. Maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, Taeve. It's got fucking underwear with it. Ain't filing that next to any 7-inches. And lastly, a band from Detroit, 1985. It's on Thrash Records. This one is, it's kind of my own fault, really. It's by my own design that this is a filing nightmare. Now, the record in itself, it just looks like an unassuming single. You got I Want to Be a Cheerleader on the A side. You got Teacher's Pet on the B side. It's just mid-tempo, kind of steamrolling punk. Vocals sound kind of like a mishmash of like Iggy Pop and Lux Interior if there was a mild sinus infection involved. But what makes this a bit unfileable is the cover, obviously, because it came in this giant envelope. And the reason for that is because I got a copy of the cover that was never folded or glued on textured paper. It's pretty cool, but it's just I don't see any reason to fold it and glue it. It's just it came like this and it's staying like that. So I can file the single, but I definitely can't file the cover. So, but again, it's by my own. It's my own fault. No regrets. So yeah, that's some sworn enemies of conventional filing for you. If you have other ones, I'd like to see them because I like shit like that. So yeah, that's it for me. Cheers.